Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the October 21st regular meeting of Council. I'd like to first recognize that we are gathered once again on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. Our clerk tonight will be Ms. Sheila Gurry. The question period sign-up sheet is on the partition wall near the gallery. If at any time during the meeting any member of the gallery has a question regarding an agenda item only, I would ask them to write down their name and the agenda item on the sheet, and I'll call you up at the question period during the end towards the close of the council meeting. And the first item on the agenda is the introduction of late items, and we have a couple, Ms. Gurry.
We do. For late items this evening, we are removing agenda item 9A, property maintenance for 188 Captain Morgan's Boulevard and 63 Pirates Lane. And for agenda item 9B, Nanaimo Region Foundry BC Centre, we're adding a presentation from Jason Harrison, Executive Director, Canadian Mental Health Association, Mid-Island Branch. And that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. A motion for the approval of agenda as amended. Councillor Thorpe, seconded Councillor Armstrong. All those in favour? Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes have been circulated. Motion for the adoption of the minutes is circulated. Moved Councillor Thorpe, seconded Councillor Bonner. All those in favour? Thank you very much. A couple of items on the Mayor's report tonight. I'm delighted to announce that I'll be meeting with some senior staff with Minister Selina Robinson, the Minister responsible for Housing and Municipal Affairs, on October the 31st, Halloween. Nothing to be read into that in terms of timing. I think it's important for the city, who have a number of concerns, that they be addressed, and we're very grateful for that opportunity to meet. I'm also delighted to announce, and wishing to bring a slight smile and perhaps a slight embarrassment to Councillor Hemmons' face tonight, that the city is pleased to announce that Equal Voice Central Vancouver Island, in partnership with Councillor Hemmons, are the successful recipients of the Toward Parity grant provided through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, and the Department for Women and Gender Equality in Canada. It will result in $5,000 towards a parity grant. And the vision is to have an immediate impact, we trust, on young women in the community aspiring to possible careers in politics. So, congratulations to Councillor Hemmons. Well done. We are also, and I would remind everyone, currently looking for members for the recently approved Economic Development Task Force. Interested applicants need to submit a completed application form to Legislative Services, Ms. Gurry, between Thursday, October 17th, 2019, obviously, and 4:30 p.m. on Friday, November the 1st, 2019. They can be mailed or dropped off in person to Legislative Services, 455 Wallace Street, Nanaimo, V9R 5J6, or you can email to legislative.servicesoffice@nanaimo.ca, and the application form in terms of reference are on the website at nanaimo.ca. And this is an important committee. This represents the result of a great deal of work of council and staff, to whom we are indebted, and provides an opportunity to participate in the ongoing economic prosperity the city is enjoying, but also to help guide and ensure that in the future, when things may not be quite so rosy, that we will have plans and programs in place to ensure that our citizens continue to be employed. We also are offering, and I can't resist switching quite over, October offers spooky swims and Thanksgiving activities. There are a number of events. Unfortunately, given the timing of tonight's meeting, the only one that's left that I want to announce specifically is that on Friday, October the 25th, Bevan Park Pool will host the annual Halloween Howl Pool Party. And in the immortal words provided by Ashley Rowe, our Recreation Coordinator of Aquatics, jump in between 4 and 7 p.m. The pool will be transformed into a spooky setting with a haunted water slide tower, pumpkins in the pool, snakes in the lazy river, colored water, water balloon toss, water running mats, face painting, aqua jousting, and prizes. And I know Councillor Armstrong is anxious to participate. Very importantly, we are gearing up for Go by Bike Week, October 21st to November 3rd. To participate, you just need to register yourself, your family members, or a team at gobikebc.ca. There are bring your proof of registration to Alderwoods Community Centre, Nanaimo Aquatic Centre, or the Bevan Park Pool, and you'll receive an LED bike valve light and a ballot where you can enter to win one of 3 $50 Parks and Recreation gift certificates. and one of two $50 gift certificates to Thrills and Skills Cycling. There's a number of other prizes offered as well, and if you attend October 22nd, 7 to 9 a.m. along the ENN Trail at Bowen Road, hosted by Edify, I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly, Technologies. October 24th, 7 to 9 a.m. again, the ENN Trail at St. George, hosted by Thrills and Skills.
That's the little light that you're going to get.
And that's the little light you're going to get. I feel like a Jedi Knight living in reduced circumstances. It's not the size of your sword that counts, it's the brightness of the light. October 24th, 3 to 5:30 p.m. at the corner of 4th Street in Waikasiah, hosted by Vancouver Island University Sustainability in Nanaimo Ladysmith Public Schools. October 28th, 4 to 6 p.m. along the ENN Trail at St. George, hosted by Thrills and Skills Cycling Co. And October 30th, 4 to 6 p.m. along the ENN Trail at Bowen Road, hosted by Edify Technologies. So go on the city website, by all means, please. Finally, the city is seeking parks, recreation, and culture program proposals. We're inviting community members to showcase their skills as an instructor in the upcoming spring and summer activity guide program proposals for a variety of areas, including dance, cooking, language, arts and crafts, music, outdoor recreation, and more are now being accepted. Submissions are to be received by 4:30 on November the 8th and will be considered for the 2020 Spring and Summer Activity Guide. Again, on the city website, and Megan Lum, Recreation Coordinator, Parks and Recreation, will be happy to see you becoming involved. And finally, as we approach, and I'm nice to see an extension to our English forebears on this one, it's not just stay safe for Halloween, it's stay safe for Guy Fawkes Night. I'm going to embarrass my daughter by telling the whole world she was born on Guy Fawkes Day, many years ago. With Halloween and Guy Fawkes, or Bonfire Night, approaching, Nanaimo Fire Rescue has a couple of reminders to ensure that the night is safe for everyone. Those planning a bonfire for Halloween on October 31st and or Guy Fawkes Night on November 5th must first obtain a bonfire permit for each event. In addition, the sale, possession, and discharge of fireworks is strictly prohibited within the boundaries of the City of Nanaimo. Regulations can be found on www.nanaimo.ca. Keep your kids safe, make sure they can be seen, carry a flashlight or a glow stick, and residents are reminded to change batteries in their working smoke alarm on before November 3rd, 2019 as the clocks turn back 1 hour. And I think Chief Fry has been keeping us apprised of various circumstances in the city in the last few weeks where smoke alarms have not been in working order. And quite literally, people are placing their lives and the lives of their loved ones at risk, and I hope they will react accordingly and ensure that their smoke detectors are working. With that rather lengthy mayor's report, my apologies, but it was necessary to say everything. We have no presentations, Ms. Gurry. We have no delegations. We have a motion for adoption of consent items, and I gather Councillor Brown wishes to withdraw a couple of the items, Ms. Gurry, correct?
Yes, Your Worship, I'll just go ahead for Councillor Brown. I believe he wants to remove items 8B, 1, 5. This numbering's not as confusing or anything. 5.
Sorry, Your Worship.
I think we'll let Councillor Brown.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Gurry.
8B12, which is
Thank
the
you, yes.
Nanaimo Youth
Sorry about
Advisory
that.
Council, and also 8B21, which is the Loudon Park Boathouse Project.
Thank you.
So, a motion for adoption of the consent items subject to withdrawal of those two items from the consent list. Moved by Councillor Hemmons, seconded by Councillor Bonner. All those in favor? Motion opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And then, Your Worship, if Councillor Brown would like to deal with the Youth Advisory Council first, and then he can excuse himself for the other.
Please. Councillor Brown.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I would like to propose an alternative motion from the one that's in the report, and I'll speak to it afterwards if there's the graciousness of a seconder. That Council hold the Nanaimo Youth Advisory Council in abeyance, that staff direct staff prepare a report on an engagement session to inquire with youth on how they would like to be engaged with and included in local governance structures, and that correspondence be sent to School District 68 and the Regional District of Nanaimo, inviting their participation in the initial engagement session.
We have a seconder, Councillor Bonner. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sort of some conversations I had this last weekend, just sort of about this general topic, and they're sort of far-reaching. A lot of what Councillor Armstrong, I've heard her talk about around youth engagement. Councillor Gesselbrock, I think I've probably heard individuals at this table and been in individual conversations with each of you to certain degrees around this topic, and I'm afraid we might have been a little hasty in dissolving the Youth Advisory Council. Not to say that it is the best way of engagement or something that should go in perpetuity, but I sort of realized that I think we're making the decision on behalf of the youth rather than creating space to initially have that conversation around how they would like to be engaged with, communicated with, and included in some of these decisions. And I think there's a lot of overlap in programming between what we do in the school district and the regional district, but also a lot of confusion. And so I thought, sort of taking inspiration from some of the task force on engagement, that they had a great session with neighborhoods. I thought, it would be wonderful if we could do something like that and just make space for that conversation and see what sort of outcomes there are and recommendations. Just to make sure that we're not jumping to conclusions here and just making more responsible decisions. And it's I know I picture it as a one-day thing, not an ongoing thing, but who knows what might come from it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the points raised. I think, once again, instead of hearing from the youth, we made decisions. So I would support that for a youth engagement to see what they would like to see, even with the option of having one seat reserved per committee for them, if that would meet their needs, or if they see a better way of doing it. So I support the motion.
Councillor Hemmens.
Thank you, Chair. I also support the motion for the reasons given. In the staff report, they outlined that it was difficult to get youth who represent a broad array of the community to the table. So I'd just like to say that if we are going to do a specific engagement, that we make extra effort to ensure that all representation is there.
Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you, Your Worship. Briefly, I will also support the motion. I think it's unfortunate that the story around this seemed to focus on the cancellation or the dissolving of the Youth Advisory Council, whereas in fact the intent was to include youth on the formation of our new Advisory Committee on Accessibility and Inclusiveness, which I think is a good idea. But I will support the motion. I would especially like to see collaboration with the school district, as Councillor Brown suggested. Thank you.
And I do note, notwithstanding the importance of tonight's council meeting, we don't have a member of the local media here to respond to the use of Councillor Martman's words as the headline for the story instead of speaking of it in a positive manner, but that means the mayor can be cheeky tonight and make this kind of public statement. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Councillor Brown.
And on this item, I'd just like to recuse myself as I'm a member of the Rotary Club.
So a motion for the adoption. Thank you, Councillor Hemmens, seconded Councillor Bonner. Ms. Gurry, you're fine. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Perhaps someone can... Well, at least we know that Councillor Brown assesses the speed with which the mayor conducts consent items. Thank you very much. We are on to reports. 9A having been removed, we are on to 9B, Nanaimo Region Foundry BC Centre. Mr. Lindsay, you're going to introduce this, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're here this evening to seek Council's support for a letter to the Nanaimo Regional Foundry BC Steering Committee in support of their application to Foundry BC to fund a Foundry Centre in Nanaimo. And there's a draft letter included on attachment A in your package. And this evening, we have Jason Harrison, who's an Executive Director with Canadian Mental Health Association, who's going to provide you a presentation, a little bit more background on what exactly is a Foundry BC site.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Harrison, no stranger to council. You're welcome to come up.
No stranger to council, but first time standing right here. Good evening, Mayor Krogh and council. My name is Jason Harrison. I'm the Executive Director of Canadian Mental Health Association Mid-Island Branch. I had hoped to be the first one to mention lasers, but you got in front of me. And
You're dealing with a much older and bigger ego, Mr. Harrison. You're just going to have to learn to suffer for a while till they get your place in the sun.
There are currently no lasers in our project, but we do have a lot of community consultation to go. I do think, in light of the previous discussion, youth engagement actually is one of the biggest things that we have to do in bringing this center together. Community engagement as a whole. So there are likely synergies here between what the council and city would like to do and this project going forward, because it is central to bringing this project forward. Many of you do know me through our work supporting some of the responses to some of the social crises facing our community, but I really am pleased to be talking about something tonight that is a positive and upstream intervention. We intend for this project to transform the way we provide service to youth and help connect with youth long before crises take hold. And that project is Foundry Youth Center for the Nanaimo region. I had planned to actually show a video that Foundry BC put out that explains beautifully what a Foundry Center is, but and what it looks like, but unfortunately we weren't able to make that happen this evening around rules around YouTube videos and Vimeo. I believe the links have been sent to everyone through Ledge Services.
I believe, Mr. Harrison, most of us have had a chance to see it already, actually.
Okay, excellent.
Very
And
compelling.
for anyone else out there, foundrybc.ca, and especially the Bring a Foundry Youth Center to a Community post has the video there for anyone else that's interested. Essentially, Foundry is a one-stop shop for youth services. Youth aged 12 to 24 in our community can get access to the services they need, when they need it, and without having to tell their story over and over and over, which is common in our system now. It also allows caregivers and their support networks to point people in the direction of the place that they could go to get help and get connected to services. Through the Foundry centers that already exist in the province, there's also compelling data that's showing that a high number of youth who would have never reached out for support are going to these centers. So it is something that they weren't necessarily expecting, but is something that's being demonstrated. There are currently 8 centers operating in the province, with 3 more set to open soon, and you can see there's a large gap on the island between the two, and we are definitely in need here. This week, the next call for expressions of interest is going to become public, and we intend to be one of the groups that are successful in bringing that funding to our community. We believe your support is vital to making that happen. At this time, I do want to acknowledge the previous work done by the Tilikum-Lalem Friendship Society. They made an application on the community's behalf in 2016, and through the local action team in the fall of 2017, our organization accepted the torch from them to take the project forward for this next round of proposals. The key to making this project work really is collaboration, and especially from the core providers, funders, decision makers in our community. And since late 2017, we have had numerous discussions with community partners in anticipation of the next round of funding. And I can tell you absolutely that we've had unprecedented support from everybody across the board and commitment from all the primary agencies and entities in our community. I'll show you here on our project team, and this is on the steering committee, Island Health, several different sections of Island Health, MCFD, Ministry of Social Development, all 3 First Nations from our area, school division, and on down the list. So these are the folks that are coming together, and we're just the convening agency of this application, but this is really, it's not a CMHA project, this is a community project, and all decisions are being made by these groups. So here in 2019, and we have been working on this quite a long time, we thought the call was imminent in 2018, and here we are, fall of 2019. But the provincial government made commitments in both the provincial budget earlier in the year and in the Pathway to Hope document released by the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions in June to fund several more of these sites throughout the province. We know that there'll be significant competition through the province, and I am also aware of multiple applications likely to come from the island. So it really does underscore how vital your support will be in ensuring we have the best application possible. So with that in mind, we're requesting the following support from council, which is a letter of support for the application, to provide us some staff representation on the steering committee. And when we are successful at bringing this project to the community here, we do view you, and we really ask that the city's an active partner in the development process. And with that, thank you for your time, and we hope that you join us in making this a really game-changing project for our community.
Mr. Harrison, thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions for Mr. Harrison tonight? Councillor Turley.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Harrison or staff. In the options that were given in the staff report, the last one called financial implications, there's the actual paragraph or sentence I'm concerned, I won't say I'm concerned about, but I have questions about, is if the NFSC is successful in receiving their grant funding, some additional supports may be requested from the city at a future date. Do we have any idea of what those might be, or the broadness of them?
At this time, really, it's an ask for all important stakeholders to be part of the process. And it's not dollar figures at the moment. The biggest one would be being an active partner in the development process. Obviously, like anybody else bringing something into the community, you would probably have discussions around DCC waivers and things of that nature. But again, we want to make this project a successful one for our community. Nothing specific at this time.
Okay.
Councillor Bonner.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Mr. Harrison. Can you make more of a description of what the actual entity is when it shows up here? Are they going to be building buildings? Are we going to, like, staff requirements, that sort of thing?
Yeah, our desire would be to build brand new. We would love to build a legacy building and project for the community. It has been done in other communities with major retrofits and renovations of buildings. Generally, when they come together, it is a location usually between 8,000, 10,000 square feet, where we're really changing the way the groups that are already working out there work together. We're bringing them into one place. So in a lot of areas, it's a reallocation of existing supports into one place. And then we do a gap analysis. There is some operating capital that comes as part of the project, and we assessed what the gaps are and look from there to add the other services to round out the complement. And the other part that is great about a service and a project like this is when you can demonstrate that we're all working together that way and in an efficient way, it makes it much stronger to go on behalf of our community to make applications for further funding for pieces that might not be there. And it just raises the level of what we're able to demonstrate we're doing in the community.
Thank you. I'm going to say very quickly, Mr. Harrison, that in a community where estimates run as high as 600 people homeless in a population of $100,000, I think this is one of the most exciting and appealing projects, and I would sincerely hope the provincial government is listening well tonight, and all the partners who would fund, that this would be a really important addition for our community in particular. No further discussion. All those in, can someone make the motion?
I would move the staff recommendations.
Seconded, Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Not pushing this, am I? Any opposed? I trust not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you.
The next is item C, rezoning application number RA 419-150 Esplanade and 155 Fry Street. Mr. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Worship. As you mentioned, this is a rezoning application for the subject properties. Also, many people may know this site as the Robbins Garden site in South Nanaimo. Your Worship, this is an application to rezone the subject property from Core 3 to Core 2. I would note that both zones allow for similar density. The key difference is that under the Core 3, under the existing zoning, in order to develop on the site, 25% of the floor area must be devoted to commercial space. So if you think about a typical 4-story building, that would mean that the entirety of the main ground floor would be commercial. So the existing owners have looked at that requirement, and then in their opinion, that amount of commercial is probably, there's not the market demand at this time for that level. So they've asked for an amendment from Core 3 to Core 2, which again allows for same density of building, but will allow for the entirety of those buildings to be devoted towards residential. In this case, they're proposing 91 units with approximately 3,000 square feet of that that will have commercial, some amount of commercial services available to neighbors and tenants.
Thank you very much. Councillor Turley, time to earn your money. Acting Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So I move that zoning amendment bylaw 2019 number 4500.159 to rezone 150 Esplanade and 155 Fry Street from Community Corridor Core 3 to Mixed Use Corridor Core 2 pass first reading.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Motion carries. And in fairness to Councillor Turley, if anyone's actually listening at home tonight, not watching the election, Councillor Turley, and no acting mayor gets any extra money for doing the work, but we appreciate what you're doing.
I had this fleeting moment of desire for wealth, but it's not going to happen. Your Worship, I move that zoning amendment bylaw 2019 number 4500.159 pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. Any discussion? Councillor Turley?
I would have, through you to the staff, so is there any concerns from the building just north of those two residents there?
Your Worship, I think Councillor Turley is referring to, if we look at the air photo of the building immediately to the north on the same block. Thank you. That is phase 1 of this original project, and that was completed in 2016. As part of that development, it was always contemplated that these parcels would develop out, and I would say this development is consistent with that original vision.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Councillor Turley?
Your Worship, I move that council direct staff to secure the community amenity contribution should council support the bylaw at third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Bonner. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next is item D, rezoning application number RA 436-120 Commercial Street. Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you, Worship. Again, a rezoning application, at this time, an application for a site-specific amendment to allow cannabis retail store on the subject property. And as noted in the report, it's within our downtown, in the Downtown 1 zone.
And we have a delegation, Mr. Andrew Gordon, Aura Cannabis Inc. Mr. Gordon, introduce yourself and your address, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Andrew Gordon. I live in Burnaby, British Columbia. So I understand I have 5 minutes to speak, or?
It's on. Shows
okay.
as being on.
I didn't see the timer, apologies. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Wonderful to be here with you tonight. I understand at this stage, and staff as well, it's very
You may
procedural,
wish
but...
to lean in a bit more to
Oh,
the
yeah.
mic. And
Definitely eager to connect as people. I'm really falling in love with this community, did a tour of Tilray today. We're very excited at the prospect and the opportunity to open a cannabis retail business here. Again, my name is Andrew Gordon. I serve as the Senior Vice President for Aura Cannabis. We do business as Chiaro. Currently, we are licensed in the province of British Columbia. We have a wonderful retail store on Kingsway and Knight in Vancouver. We're also licensed in the province of Saskatchewan, in Saskatoon and Larange. And we aim to create an inviting and socially responsible and compliant retail model that the community can really celebrate. Our name, Chiaro, comes from the Italian chiaroscuro, which means the transition from darkness to light. So a nod to legalization and to the transition that communities and consumers are going through. Our mandate is to help stand up and stand out and inspire stories of enjoyment, and we aim to appeal to both the canna curious and to the connoisseur. Our stores are staffed by well-informed consultants whose primary role is to initiate meaningful conversations, to tailor outcomes to individual needs. And I'm really proud to be a part of an amazing team. Our CEO, Daniel Petroff, is one of the co-founders of Aurora, which is one of the largest cannabis companies in the world. Our SVP of Operations, Eleanor Lynch, is from Lids, so she ran over 100 locations across Canada. And myself, a humble servant of the community, has been in the NGO sector, breeding capacity for community mission for over a decade. And we're really excited about the opportunity here. Looking at the opportunity here, we don't just want to be a cannabis retailer, we're really aiming to be a cannabis leader and really bringing the community together. I serve as a director of ACRES, the Association of Canadian Cannabis Retailers, and we're really excited at the prospect of galvanizing and creating some cohesion here in the city to really advance the interests of not only cannabis retail, making sure that it's achieving the aims and aspirations of the Cannabis Act, looking at protecting and improving public health and safety, making sure that we're eroding the illicit element of the equation through transition, and then looking at the opportunity to also making sure that we're keeping it out of the hands of youth. We really focus our mission, and we've drawn a lot of attention around that. You may have read recently, we've announced an investment from Tilray in our company, and we're looking at the opportunity to really build a strong corporate social responsibility initiative around that partnership. Excited what we can do here in the community. We found that on 4 key principles, looking at consumer education and consumer experience first and foremost, really looking at effective lifestyle integration solutions. So not just how people access cannabis, but how they consume it, how they transport it safely, how they store it safely at home, and how they have meaningful conversations with their family about it as well. We really try to breed not just customers, but advocates in the community. We're limited in terms of our promotion and advertising, so the ability to get the message out through our network is key to help build our social license. We also focus a lot on community investment and engagement. So you'll see in the package we've provided here, we've aligned our community contribution with the Housing Legacy Fund, not only for 1 year, but for a 2nd year as well. We're really excited about collective solution building in the community. And we've also connected with Gord at the 710 Club Society. It was a local nonprofit in our area, and we saw a lot of meaningful opportunities and alignment there to contribute $10,000 over 2 years there as well. Looking at the other pillars of our corporate social responsibility initiative is strong staff training. So really making sure that they have a really good understanding of the community, where the available parking is, really making sure that they have a good sight line on any conversations in the community of concern, and really making sure that we're responding to those in a timely fashion. And then really the information exchange. And my role as director of ACRES, I really want to bring the community together, build that conversation so we can have positive, purposeful outcomes for the long term here in the city of Nanaimo. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Very good, thank you. No questions? Councillor Turley?
Thank you, Your Worship. I move the zoning amendment bylaw 2019, number 4500.161, to rezone 120 Commercial Street to allow cannabis retail store as a site-specific use in the core DT1 zone. Pass first reading.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that zoning amendment bylaw 2019.4500.161 pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Bonner. Councillor Hemmens.
Thank you. A question through you to staff. Just some clarity on the community amenity contribution. Is that our report states that it's 10,000 towards the Housing Legacy Fund, but it, I believe I heard in the presentation just now that it's actually $10,000 twice over 2 years. And how is the 710 Club involved, please?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Hemmens. Staff also picked up on those comments. Our understanding is that as per what's been standard policy with all cannabis retail stores, it's that there's a monetary contribution of $10,000, in this case being allocated to the Housing Legacy Reserve, and that would be secured prior to final adoption. If a business, any business, wished to make further donations after that time, it would be outside the scope of rezoning and simply be under their own separate work.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Your
Councillor
Worship. I move that council direct staff to secure the amenity contribution prior to adoption of the bylaw, should council support the bylaw at third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next is E, rezoning application number RA 437-115 Chapel Street. Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you, Worship. This is also a site-specific rezoning for cannabis retail store within the downtown 1 zone, and in this case, at the property of 115 Chapel Street. Thank you.
Councillor Turley.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. I move that zoning amendment bylaw 2019 number 4500.160 to rezone 115 Chapel Street to allow cannabis retail store as a site-specific use, the core downtown DT1 zone, pass first reading.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Motion carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move zoning amendment bylaw 2019 number 4500.160 pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Bonner. Councillor Bonner. Any discussion? Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I may, through you to staff on the process for these applications. My understanding, Mr. Lindsay, has been that we deal with rezoning if necessary, and from there the application goes to Victoria, to the provincial government and the BCLCR branch. So I noticed in the report on the previous application, we were advised that the Liquor Control Branch, or cannabis, whatever they're calling it now, had deemed the previous application to be fit and proper. I thought that came after our discussion and decision. And if I may just continue for a moment, on this application, we're told that the LCRB will advise if it's fit and proper. So I'm confused on the timing and the process.
Your Worship, I think it's best described in that there's parallel processes going on here, and that there's an application that's made to the province and one that's made to the city. What's important is that we will not bring the bylaws forward for final adoption until it's confirmed that the province has given that approval. So if they are in fact further ahead with one application and have that approval, we'll note that. But the key message is here that we will not bring it forward for final adoption until we've received it on all applications.
Thank you, that satisfies me.
Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council direct staff to secure the amenity contribution and BC Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch approval prior to the adoption of the bylaw, should council support the bylaw at third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Bonner. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next are bylaws. The first is item 10A, zoning amendment bylaw number 2019, number 4500.132.
Okay. I move zoning amendment bylaw 2019, number 4500.132 to rezone 111 Nickel Street to allow a site-specific cannabis retail store use in the Gateway DT12 zone to be adopted.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next is item B, council procedure amendment bylaw number 2019, number 7272.01.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that Council Procedure Amendment Bylaw 2019, number 7272.01, to remove references to the Committee of the Whole and include amendments related to delegations, task forces, and other administrative matters be adopted.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next is item C, property tax exemption bylaw 2019, number 7293. Councillor Turley.
Your Worship, I move that Property Tax Exemption Bylaw 2019, number 7293, to provide exemptions from 2019 property taxes be adopted.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is item D, building bylaw amendment bylaw 2019, number 7224.02.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that building bylaw amendment, I'll start again. I move that building bylaw amendment bylaw 2019, number 7224.02, to introduce BC Energy Step Code regulations and to amend demolition permit expiration, amend works and services be adopted.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmens. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The next is item E, highway closure and dedication removal bylaw 2019, number 7292. Councillor Turley.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that highway closure and dedication removal bylaw 2019, number 7292, to provide highway closure and dedication removal of Lubbock Square adjacent to 618 Fitzwilliam Street and 285 Prideaux Street, pass third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Bonner. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We have a bylaw status sheet for information only. We do have correspondence under item 11 from the Vancouver Island Regional Library dated 2019, October 11th. A letter of support for the Canadian Library's access to digital content.
Your Worship, if there's a motion resulting from that correspondence, now would be the appropriate time to make it.
Thank you. I'll move that we
Councillor
offer
Hemmens
a letter of
moves.
recommendation.
Councillor Bonner seconds. Councillor Turley?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess the question I have is what, if any, fees the library pays for the use of digital books, I guess is the best way of describing it. If any, I guess there's a concern over, you don't understand what I'm talking about? No?
Oh, no, I do. I just don't know the answer.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Armstrong, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I think under the, it's actual property rates. They would
Copyright,
pay,
yeah.
if they were to rent them out like that, or they would be liable to lawsuit.
So basically, they pay for the ability to loan them out at no cost, so. But the library itself pays for the,
They would have to by law.
yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Councillor Hemmens.
Thank you. I just note that the date on this was, it requested the letter by October 16th. Have we had any correspondence with Furl to see if a late letter of support is going to be effective?
Yuri?
No, Your Worship. So there was no meeting between the time of the letter and this was the earliest we could get to it. So they did know it was on the agenda for this evening. I'm hoping that it's never too late to support something, but no, I don't know.
Not our fault, Councillor. We can doing the best we can. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. There's no notices of motion. No other business. Safe to say there's no Councillor Bonner.
Thank you, and it's
So
not,
reliable.
it's not so much other business other than to point out an error that was mentioned earlier in that since the mayor has never been a council member before, all of the council members do actually get an extra stipend for being acting mayor, so.
I am delighted that you have corrected me on the record.
Right on.
And I appreciate it, and I apologize profusely to the good burghers of Nanaimo that thought they were getting these wonderful services for free. I'm sure it's a modest stipend, though, compared
It
to
is
the
very
amount of
modest,
work
yes.
involved. Before I ask for a motion of adjournment, I just want to remind all of you, as Councillor Hemmens so graciously did the other day, that yesterday was the first-year anniversary of a wonderful election in Nanaimo, and I just want to say, concluding tonight, what a wonderful group it is that I have the pleasure of working with as mayor, and I suspect the feeling is mutual around the table. So without further ado, I'm going to ask for a motion for adjournment. Councillor Bonner, seconded Councillor Brown. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much, everybody.